Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at 120 Northeast Tiffany Street here in Hillsboro. Located at the front of the house, we are just to the right of the doorway. That's as you look at the house from the street and how I describe everything. You have a 3-inch ABS cleanout. Sits about 3 feet to the right of the walkway. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water's currently running. We're going to zero out the foot counter here at the bottom of the cleanout. Off we go. Right out of the gate, you do have a little bit of grease buildup in the flow line. Thus far, it does not look ultra significant, and we'll see how it looks on the way out. My camera often will scrape a bit of this stuff loose and or loosen it up if nothing else. Alright, transitioning here now over to 4-inch 3034 PVC. Anyway, I point the grease out in some cases like this, mostly for educational purposes. If you haven't ever seen what it looks like when a line gets greased up, or what can happen if you aren't careful about what you're putting down the line, it can build up. And at the point it's at right now, this is not in a scenario where that kind of grease buildup is going to go causing blockages on its own. It can be a contributing factor, you know, in scenarios where someone's flushing improper stuff down the line. Wipes, paper towels, flushable wipes. Those I include in the improper category, by the way. They should not be used on your sewer line. So anyway, when stuff like that goes down the line, grease can be the difference between it getting stuck in the line or getting out of it. But where this stuff is at right now, it's not it's just going to go causing a blockage on its own. It's not thick enough. Alright, hitting the main here at about 51 feet. Thus far, a very nice looking sewer line. Aside from some grease buildup, there's hardly anything in here I could even nitpick. Now, once the line drains out, we'll get a better view of all that as far as the grease goes. So far, does not look like a situation that requires a hydrojet, but we'll get a better view when the line's drained. And we're also going to go locate really quick just to verify where the line terminates. Alright, located the camera head successfully. Line terminates out on Northeast Tiffany Street. And where I take that locate lines up almost perfectly with the cleanout access. In case you're curious where the line travels. It essentially just, well, I can't remember if we had any slight bends or meandering going on. Overall, it pretty much runs straight. And I did a toilet flush there just a moment ago to help bust everything up and loosen it. As you can see now that we're coming back, a lot of that grease that was in the flow line now is busting up into little chunks. That's what I was wanting to see there. If you came back a week from now, a good portion of this stuff will slough off on its own now that I've broken it loose. Because what you end up with, it's not just purely grease. You get grease and then toilet paper products get stuck to it. And then that grease then kind of impregnates itself into the toilet paper. So when the camera goes through and scrapes it and breaks up a pathway through it, it starts to slough off quite easily. When it's at this level, it does anyway. So far here, not a concerning level of grease is what I'm seeing coming back. This is not worthy of a, you know, $500-600+ in hydrojetting. And I will run the camera backwards. Sometimes, depending on how the household lives, you'll get extra thick grease on the inside of the house, but thus far, no need for that here, in my opinion. You've got good flow through the PVC there. Great looking piece of pipe. Buttoned up tight and graded very nicely. But depending on the type of household you have, if you have households that are very anal about using hot water to wash dishes, often have almost no grease buildup on the inside. All of it hardens on the outside of the house where the pipe's buried underground and cold all the time. ABS pipe also looks good, minimal grease buildup, and again, a good portion of that grease is still at a point where it's going to slough off. We're now going backwards, but the line looks great. It's graded beautifully. No bellies, no offsets, nothing. And I'm just for the sake of cleaning the line out here, I'm going to turn some water back on to help bust loose everything I'm breaking up. Alright, I turned on the bathtub to get a high volume going through here. Anyway, what I was getting back to there, when you get a combination of grease and toilet paper, it breaks loose much easier than when it's just purely grease. Once it gets stuck in the toilet paper, you don't have to carve much of a pathway through it before that water can actually work on it and just break it loose from the line. Mostly pointing it out, it's a very good maintenance item, especially when you have little kids in the house that are still learning how to fold toilet paper. Our bathtub might be plugged here. I'll have to go check on that here in just a second. The plug was in the tub there. Alright, that's the end of the line there. That's where we go up into... That's the bottom of the toilet we're looking at there. That white little speck you can see in front of us is the porcelain from the toilet. So I'm going to let the line drain off here for a moment and we'll pull back in. Alright, still a little bit of water trickling through that toilet I'm flushing in there. I actually love high flow toilets. They flush things properly through a line. They're usually a little bit older toilets though, so the flappers don't shut off immediately. Yeah, you got a little bit of water still going through the line, but you can see the junk that's busting loose now. So when I pull the camera all the way out, I'll do one more toilet flush, and that'll clear just about everything out of here. Anything meaningful anyway. The big thing is just not reintroducing it to the line. If you wipe your pans out with a paper towel once the pans cool down, pour it into a jar, make lardo out of it, whatever. You just want to keep it from going down the line. It's mostly when you've got real quantity, a thin little spray of Pam on a frying pan. That's not what I'm talking about. It's when you've got enough oil and grease on your pan that it runs off in beads. If you were to turn it sideways, that's the stuff you want to avoid going down your line. Anyway, great looking line end to end there. There is not a single spot in that line where there's any standing water. All the water you saw at the end there was just from my camera causing some debris to get hung up, creating a debris dam. As soon as you start moving the camera, all of it starts to flow out of there. It's a perfectly graded sewer line from end to end, which is actually quite uncommon to see. There's usually some spot in the line where you've got at least a little bit of standing water. Every inch of the line is in good condition. We got the vast majority of the grease out of there. It wasn't terribly significant to begin with, but we got a lot of it removed there. The sewer line is functioning properly at this time. That's a very nice looking sewer line there.